Hi, everybody. It's Nicole of Nicole Mori Coaching, and I'm so glad to be speaking with you today. I love to help women prioritize themselves and their wellness without losing traction in their business. So hopefully it can help you do a little bit of that today, right now, while we talk about, are you tired of being tired at work? So, first off, the reason I'm talking about being tired so much these days is because I have a brand new masterclass coming up this week on Thursday, and it is called End Your Exhaustion for Women Entrepreneurs. It's on the 24th at 1 p.m. on Zoom. So if you'd like to register for that to learn more about how you can help yourself with your exhaustion, then you can sign up at subscribepage.com/end exhaustion. But meanwhile, let's get into this business of being tired at work. What we're going to be chatting about today is specifically about our exhaustion in the workplace. Now, I realize there's all kinds of reasons why we feel exhausted, in our personal life, in our wellness and such. So, but today specifically, we'll be chatting about in our businesses. And I want to talk about what tends to drain our energy at work. I've got a great financial analogy to share with you, and then some tips on how to start working away at improving that exhaustion of yours. So let's get to it. So, of course, as I've already mentioned, we can have a lot of things that make us feel exhausted in our businesses that we're growing and building. At the same time, we can have things at home that are having us feel exhausted in body, mind, heart, and spirit. And even when those are happening to us at home, often the effects of what's going on there, we bring into our workplace with us. And so one could say that because of that, there can be a direct correlation between one's personal health and the wealth that you're making in your business. But today I want to talk about a slightly different connection between health and wealth, which we'll get to shortly. But just quick, when I talk about exhaustion, the simple definition again is just that idea that when something is exhausted, its resources or reserves are completely used up. And I also like to point out the 3 levels of tiredness. So the mild, I guess, would be when we're feeling tired. That's totally normal and to be expected. But with tiredness, usually we can rest up and feel replenished and ready to go the next day. Then we have exhaustion, which happens when day after day, if we're not able to rest and recover, the longer term effect is that we do feel exhausted. And then the 3rd level, of course, is the more exhausted one is, the more severe or the longer term that can move into fatigue, which can come from different health symptoms, and one might need a medical professional to support them. But as a coach, I'm here for your tiredness and your exhaustion needs. So that being said, let's chat a little bit about what drains our resources. So I made a list of things that I've experienced or my clients have experienced in terms of what drains our energy. It could drain our emotions. It could drain our thoughts even. It could drain our feeling of wellness. But I'm probably using the word energy the most in this chat. Anyway, so I have identified that we have time drains at work. So whether we are having too long hours in our business or our hours are irregular, maybe there's no start and stop times to our work day. This can also look like a super heavy workload at work, and or a lack of that work-life harmony when it comes to our workloads. So that's the time drain. Sometimes our environment drains us. So it could be the physical space is too noisy or too hot or cold, which can be the case for me here. It's so cold out today, and this corner of my house can feel cold at times, distracting, but not necessarily a drain for me. Anyway, if you're disorganized in your workspace, or maybe there's distracting activities around you, those of you may be working at home when your family's around, those are all examples of environmental drains. There are sometimes the work activities themselves can be draining. Either they might be too stressful activities, too boring activities, too repetitive. Maybe you're not working to your strengths and your gifts. Sometimes we experience physical health drains. These could be both in your workplace habits, or you could find that your exhaustion is causing you to have some of these draining habits, which include maybe having too much caffeine, too much sugar, too much alcohol, or not enough sleep, not enough healthy food or movement or water. So those would be the physical drains. Of course, we have our psychological drains too, such as intense emotions, maybe things happening in your workplace that are really causing you to feel up and down on that emotional roller coaster. Stress could be negative thoughts, all the things psychological. We have financial drains in our businesses at times. So this is the whole pressure around income, or having irregular income can be stressful. Threats to financial security if our business is not yet stable, and so on. A few more here. We have interpersonal drains. So sometimes we have difficult customers or coworkers that we need to deal with day to day. Sometimes it's the opposite. There's a strain in working alone, and you have stresses and challenges because of being a solo entrepreneur, for instance. And then lastly, as I've already mentioned, our personal life drains can drain into our workplace and really affect us during our business day as well, because it can be very hard to draw that line because we're humans, and because we're entrepreneurs, there's more of a flow between our life and our business. And so I'm wondering, did I miss any? Can you think of any other themes or specific drains that you're experiencing in your business or in your workplace? I'd love for you to share those in the comments. So next, I want to share this analogy, this financial analogy that can be a fun way of looking at being tired, exhausted, and fatigued. And so I'm just going to call this the energy bank account. And again, when I say, energy, I'm meaning that as the opposite of being exhausted, but really it could include a lot of things like being emotionally full, or being well, or having capacity, having the personal resources to rest and address your stresses. Okay, so if you picture it like this, every day we have a certain amount of energy, and we have this in our energy bank account. And some of us have a lot of energy in that bank account, and others have less for various reasons. And so each day at work and in your personal life too, you spend that energy carrying out your usual day-to-day activities. So that's pretty normal. Also normal is that the more stressful or complex those activities are in your day, the more energy you're going to expend. And ideally what's going to happen is sometime during the day or overnight, you're going to be able to replenish that rest, or put those funds back in that bank account. And for example, one would do that by getting a nice supper at the end of the day, some fun downtime with your family, a good night's sleep, etc. So it's totally normal, again, like I said, for us to have that give and take in and out of our bank accounts, because that's simply the way our bodies work. Now, hopefully, we can all stay in the green, in the positive in our bank accounts. But there are times, as you know, when one's not able to fully replenish themselves and fully put back into the bank account what they took out. And so this, over time, is how we see that bank balance getting lower and lower. So the same thing, of course, I'm talking about in our energetic balance. So the less full of energy we are to begin with, the faster we get to zero and into the red, or the more stressful the activities are that we're facing, the faster that bank account comes down. And that brings us into that level of exhaustion. I like to think of the exhaustion phase as like being in overdraft in one's bank account. So there's not enough money or energy in your bank account when you go into overdraft, but you're making the transaction anyway, which brings your balance, below zero into the negative. But in doing so, there are additional costs such as interest fees and other fees that the bank adds to you. And in our case, when we're talking about energy, it's not just a matter of resting and getting back to normal. The cost is that you're going to have to do a little extra tender, loving care activities to get yourself into the green again. So you're operating in less than healthy ways once you're in overdraft, just to get by. But this compounds the original stress of running your business. And the longer that you're down there in your overdraft, the more stress that you're experiencing. But at some point you can then dip below what your overdraft limit is. And that's where I'm saying fatigue comes in. Like you can't go any further in debt on your own. And ideally you need to connect with the professionals at the bank, for example, or in our analogy, you need some help from a professional to get you out of that fatigue zone. So I hope that you had some fun hearing that different perspective on exhaustion. And as a coach, again, I'm interested in supporting you in the tired and the exhausted phases. And naturally, what we want to do is build up your reserves so that you're getting out of the red, that you have a healthy energy balance. And in fact, it's so healthy that you have savings for your future stresses, and you have energy left to give away to others, which is what we're constantly doing in our businesses. Okay, so unbeknownst to me, this was by sheer accident. I happened to stumble upon articles online about how one reduces their overdraft, and it turned out, of course, that the advice they were giving for us to take good care of our bank accounts applies to us in our businesses here. So I'm going to share these examples as tips to how you can work through your workplace exhaustion. So if you want to take a minute here quick and think about the top of mind thing in your business that is draining your energy. So I shared a whole bunch of examples in the start. So just keep that in mind as I walk through these ideas, and then notice which of the 5 really piques your interest. So according to maybe this article was the Bank of Hong Kong, I should have written it down, but this is actually a composite of different articles I read. But one, of course, the first thing you want to do is to reduce your expenses. So reducing that energy drain. Just as a budget helps you see where you're spending each month, and if there's anywhere that you could cut back, you'd want to do the same on your energy, almost like making an energy budget, I guess. So assessing where you're spending your resources, such as energy and emotions and so on, and which drains you could stop. You're going to want to notice the difference between what you really need to be doing versus what you want to be doing and spending your energy on, and even the things that you don't need to be doing anymore at all. And then adjust your habits accordingly. So this is going to stop the drain, I guess, stop it from getting any worse and help you to dig out of that debt. So an example, to make it practical, we talked about how there can be time drains in our business. So to reduce your expenses when it comes to your time management in your business, you're going to want to notice where you're spending your time and energy each day or each week. And then you're going to want to update your plan accordingly, like doing a time budget almost, to really get clear on what you need to be doing, what you don't need to be doing, and maybe a few extras of what you want to be doing. And then keep your energy reserves just for the things in that plan or that budget. Okay, number 2 is to make a repayment plan for your overdraft. So just as you'd want to pay down the amount that you've overdrawn in a smart, fast, and manageable way, you'll want to chip away at re-energizing yourself. So you can set yourself a daily or a weekly target that both replenishes the energy that you've replenishes the energy that you've used on any given day, but also it's replenishing that overdraft use of energy. So a practical example here is maybe with those physical or psychological drains that I mentioned. We all know this, although it's so much harder to practice in person, but often it's the small and the consistent changes that we make with our health that really over time bring us to the results that we want. So it's the same with this whole energy idea. Just making those small, regular, consistent practices towards our better health will slowly get us out of that overdraft debt. And also they'll keep you from getting further in debt and slipping behind. So it's like replenishing your energy plus a little bit extra to give you that boost into the green that you need. All right, so the third tip is to find other borrowing options. So yes, you can chip away at it one step at a time, like I've just shared, but you can also take care of your debt in a way that results in less interest and cost to you. So what this means is there a way that you can pay off that debt with another source that isn't going to have the same interest rate or fees attached to it, whether that's borrowing cash from your partner or putting it on getting money from a personal loan or a credit card that has a lower interest rate. And so again, this is just a loose analogy. The way I interpret this is there a way that you can replenish your energy that has even more impact than those small daily actions? So the first thing that came to mind for me on this one is the whole 80-20 rule, where it's 20% of our actions that create 80% of our results. So yes, I definitely agree with those slow, consistent actions towards re-energizing ourselves. However, like the 80-20 rule, what would be the one drain that you could address that will make some of the other drains in your life that much easier on you, I guess? So if you think of that whole idea that yes, you may have more than one of those energy drains that I mentioned in the first part of our chat here, maybe there's one that if you take care of that, suddenly all the others will get easier for you to manage. And so that is what I feel this whole idea of find other borrowing options could look like to you when it comes to replenishing your energy and feeling less exhausted. Okay, we have a couple more here. Next, you can reduce your overdraft limit. And so what this is you want to try and reduce your temptation by reducing that overdraft limit to keep you from going down that path again or getting deeper in debt. So this one to me is like our boundary setting. Yes, it's natural that we're going to experience exhaustion in our businesses, but the key is learning from that and setting boundaries, setting up practices and procedures maybe to keep us from going down that path again in the future. So with relationship drains, for example, what you can do is you can learn from your experiences, like I just said, and develop policies or practices with how you're going to interact with your clients or customers or co-workers going forward so that you never get down into the depths of your overdraft. And lastly, the tip is to speak to someone. So when facing financial stress, of course, it can always help to talk to a trusted other person. And of course, in deep distress, like I've already said, you might want to talk to your financial advisor. Well, the same can be said about our energetic exhaustion. You know, is there someone, for example, in your workplace, say you're having, you're really exhausted from personal situations at home. Well, is there trusted someone in your workplace who can either simply be a listening ear to you, to know and understand what you're going through and how that might impact you in the workplace? Or maybe that person has specific expertise in the area of exhaustion and they can support you through your journey. And again, that's what I can help with as a coach. So however you are able to do that for yourself, it can be helpful to speak to somebody about your energetic drains. So those were the 5 tips, and I'm curious, when you think back at that drain that I had you bring to mind, which of those 5 tips do you feel could make a big impact in getting you up into the green again? Is it reducing your expenses, making a repayment plan, finding other borrowing options, reducing your overdraft limit, or speaking to somebody? So, as we wrap up today, there you have my financial analogy. I hope that you found that helpful. It was fun to think about on my end. And again, I have that masterclass coming up on Thursday. So if you really want to, dive deeper into this subject and find more techniques to help you manage your exhaustion, then by all means sign up for my masterclass. Otherwise, I hope you have a cozy day, and I'll look forward to chatting with you again next week. Bye for now.